What's going on, my people? Welcome back to another episode of the Stop the Count podcast. In this episode, I'll talk about the UFC Paris card, the great boxing event we had, Milan's game versus Roma, and Chivas' game versus Monterrey. First, for the boxing event. Here in the States, it was shown by Top Rank on ESPN+. Now, talking about mikaelamayer versus Sylvia Bartot. They fought at a 142-pound weight limit. That's crazy to me, after Michaela was the 130-pound champion for so long. And really, what more is there to say about this fight? Michaela won a clear, unanimous decision. Michaela is just different. She doesn't have the most power, but her boxing ability is second to none. Michaela was taking a lot more shots than usual, but I believe it was because we've seen Michaela open herself up more, which has its good sides and also not so good sides. And it was still a good fight these two women gave us. Now, for one of the best British prospects in quite some time, Adamazim. A pretty good performance from Adam. Now, defensively, I feel he could improve because his lead hand is held really low, and when he was pulling back, Adam's chin was left right in the air. That could be a big problem when his competition steps up. But besides that, I feel this fight was a great learning experience for Adam. Throwing singular shots won't win you a world title. Now for the main event, Liamsmith versus Eubank Jr. 2. What more is there to say about this fight? It was extremely one-sided. I don't care what you say about Liam was fighting with no legs after he rolled his ankles and wasn't able to fight how he wanted to. If that was the case, quit. Don't take the beating. Save yourself. Why make your opponent look so much better than you? Because he did. Chris looked amazing, 100% different compared to the first fight. Bomac had Chris on point, defensively so much better, and just the all-around strategy. Every time Liam got close to Chris wouldn't take a step back. He'd go forward and get a clinch. And even when he would hurt Liam, which he did multiple times, the first time Chris dropped Liam, Chris did a great job staying calm, staying patient, not rushing into anything, and not leaving a chance for Liam to counter him. But there was also those times where Chris would go all out and tire himself out early in the rounds. But let's be honest, Liam wasn't doing shit. It was an all-around great showing from Chris Eubank Jr., answering the questions we had, improving on his errors, and most importantly, shutting up all the haters and the doubters like myself. Now, for the UFC, starting with Faridbasharat versus kleidisonrodrigues. What a great performance from Farid. A first-round submission finish. Now, Kleidson was no pushover, but once you get to the ground with a fighter like Farid, it's so hard to do anything, really. And that's really what happened in this fight. All Kleidson's best moments came when they were on the feet, and even then, they were few and far between. Farid's a major problem for any bantamweight out there. And just to shout out Tyler Lapilus for beating that little prick Colin Laughrin. And now for the controversy, because there can't be a UFC card without a little bit of controversy, right? And that came in the williamgomis versus Yanis Gamaudi fight, as I honestly believe that was an illegal kick landed by Gomis, as if you see the replay, Gomis' toe is hitting right on Yanis' cup, therefore making it an illegal strike. Now, I don't believe William would have lost the fight. I feel he was up comfortably. Yanis would have needed a knockout. Would he have gotten it? Who knows? I don't believe so because of how Yanis was fighting, and that is very conservatively. But still, the referee takes that what if by not letting the fight continue and not showing any patience. Just let Yanis take some time, you review the footage, and then make your decision. That's the decision I would have made. But it all happens in a split second, and referees have to make a hard decision. Nonetheless, this takes nothing away from the great performance that was given to us by williamgomis. Now for my main event, benoitsaintdenis versus thiagomoises. Another great fight and a great performance from Benoit. Literally almost everything went well for Benoit on the night. The one thing I would say Benoit could improve was he was taking some hard shots in the first round. Goddamn, but did he show that he has a great chin? And for thiagomoises, this guy is a great challenger for anybody. He's so good all around, but in this fight, he just couldn't handle benoitsaintdenis. Now for the scheduled co-main event, manonfiorot versus rosenamajunas. This fight sucked, and I'm pretty sure we all knew it was going to blow. Manonfiorot won the fight by decision, which is also semi-controversial, but to me, Manon was a winner. Although neither one looked as if they wanted the win by the way they were fighting. Rose was fighting hurt. She messed up her right hand in the first, but getting past that mess. And now for the main event, Ciryl Gane versus Serghei Spivac. What a performance from Ciryl Gane, landing almost 10 times more total strikes than Spivac. Gane was doing a great job defending takedowns and just landing shots in the clinch, but Ciryl really imposed himself where he's best at, and that is, of course, in the stand-up. While Spivac was just struggling to get Ciryl off of him, it's so hard for someone to try to get into a fight when their opponent is just doing a great job keeping them on their back foot. And I personally thought Spivac was going to try to attempt more takedowns, but after the second failed takedown in the first round, Spivac forgot he was the better wrestler. But that means nothing, as Ciryl Gane was again dominant, an absolute beast over the 2 rounds it lasted. And yes, it was a good stoppage. Spivac was not protecting himself at all. With that, concluded another pretty bad card in my opinion. Although the fans, man, they were going crazy. All the chants, all the noise being made, that was the real star of the night. I wouldn't be surprised if the next card that takes place in France is a pay-per-view card. Now for soccer. First for Milan's Champions League group. Milan have the fucking group of death. Not just PSG with their new attack, but the perennial number 2 in the Bundesliga, Borussia Dortmund. And yes, Dortmund aren't playing great right now, but they always flip the switch and pick up their form as the season goes on. And the other team I've hated since June 23rd, 2023, when they took away one of my favorite players to ever wear a Milan shirt, Sandro Tonali, and that is Newcastle. And comparing this group to other groups like Barcelona's, it's fucking crazy. I honestly believe it's going to be an extremely hard-fought group. All of them have great fans and a great football teams. I believe PSG and Milan will go through, but Newcastle will make this group extremely hard and will be in the hunt for that number 2. Milan play Newcastle first in Milan Tuesday, the 19th of September. It's going to be amazing. Now, for Milan's game against Roma in Rome, the first half was a great time to be a Milan fan. Dominating the game was an understatement, controlling the game and everything that comes with it. Milan's goal came early in the first half off of a penalty kick that I believe was rightfully awarded. Giroud put it away, and yes, they weren't able to score after the penalty, but when they're playing a team in Roma who were sitting in their own half the whole time, giving their attackers no help, there's only so much you could do. The new signings again playing great. Ruben Loftus-Cheek was the one who drew the penalty, and Pulisic was able to give Roma a great scare that almost added to Milan's lead. And in my last video, I mentioned wanting to see the midfield battle with Roma's new signing, Aouar, but we were only able to see it for about 30 minutes as the injury bug striked again, as Mourinho was forced to take Aouar off. The first half was still great for Milan. Amazing ball movement and amazing team play. My player of the half was Ruben Loftus-Cheek. I just really like how he was able to control the midfield, and his size and physicality was really on display. Plus the fact he was able to draw the penalty. Now, as the first half ended, the second half picked up right where the first half left off. This time it was Rafa Leao finally scoring in Serie A and in style, an absolute amazing goal off of a beautiful cross from Calabria, putting Milan up 2-0 and in great form, but the fall was quicker than the rise, as Tomori, who was already on a yellow card due to a pretty stupid foul, but an even stupider yellow card, gets another yellow card, causing him to get a red card and leaving Milan with 10 men, and in my opinion, the referee was pretty blind. Honestly, there were so many Roma fouls that were clearly for cards, but a Roma player didn't receive a card until the 70th minute. That's fucking crazy. And even then, Roma didn't look like the team with the man advantage. It was really until the end when Roma started to pick it up. And yes, Roma did score at the end, but that doesn't take anything away from another great game from Milan. And yes, the Tomori card does suck, but being able to stay in the game and hold on to your lead shows that this team is a top-level team. My player of the half was, of course, Rafa Leao, as he was the one that scored the goal that put Milan up 2-0. The game ended in a great 2-1 victory for Milan, and the only thing we could hope for is for this team's form not to dip over the international break, as number 1 versus number 2, Milan versus Inter, goes on right after the international break. And now for Chivas' game versus Monterrey. Chivas came out with a very weird 5 at the back, as at times Chicote would incorporate himself into the midfield, which I thought was weird, as I believe Tiba would be the one getting into the midfield. And for the first half, it couldn't have been worse. Again, a Chivas with nothing, no idea of how to play, little attack, little pressure. Monterrey were able to score 9 minutes into the game after an incredible display of dribbling by Jordi Cortizo, who I would like to add was so close to being a Chivas player, but ultimately he decided to move to Monterrey, and he's been on a tear since. Jordi was able to draw half the fucking Chivas team towards him, leaving Sergio Canales wide open, who Jordi then found, and Canales was able to get off a great shot from outside of the box, beating Huacho, giving Monterrey the lead. A horrible half, no pressure, no want to get better. There were times Chivas sat and basically waited for Monterrey in their own third of the field, and to add salt to the wound, a pretty bad penalty call in favor of Monterrey, if you were to ask me, because there's no way it should have been called. If the one Chivas had wasn't called, because from my understanding, if a defender's hand is not on the ground by the time the ball makes contact, then it is considered a handball. Nonetheless, Canales slaughtered away Monterrey's penalty, doubling their lead, putting them up 2-0. And it was just an all around horrible half. Again, zero shots at goal. This half was absolutely disgusting. Piojo and Nene were again probably the only two savable players the whole half, and Ricardo Marin was playing like shit. But for the second half, Pauno made a change to start, which was taking off Yael Padilla for Guti. And please, I've been defending Pauno so much, but not with this one. How do you take out a good playmaker like Yael and not even bring on someone like Brigido? You bring in Guti, a midfielder with no goal. Don't get me wrong, Guti didn't have a bad game, but he's not going to give you what Yael would give you in the attack. This referee, Oscar Macias, eres un pendejo. A clear goal for Piojo, but because of Marin, who wasn't offsides, gets called back for some stupid ass reason. Jesus Gallardo left him on. Absolutely bullshit, this decision by the referee. Marin would score, but again, Chivas would have been up 3-2 if it wasn't for this brain dead referee. Chivas still weren't playing good this half, don't get me wrong again. No clear ideas of play, no pressure until the end when the game was about to fucking end. How fitting, you fucking idiots. The one thing I did like was Brigido. He again almost won us the game, but a great save from Monterrey's goalkeeper pretty much saved them the game. Yael and Brigido, there's something. Once Chivas' best player, Jose Juan Macias, comes back, it's game over. But Chivas did lose 2-1. Monterrey really stopped looking for a goal for the second half, which was pretty dumb to me. Well, Chivas did play bad, but it could have been worse. Towards the end, they did start to pick it up. They go into the international break on pretty low form and have their biggest game against America on the other side. So let's just hope they could get something going then. I will talk about the Selección Mexicana in my next video, so keep an eye out for that one. But that's it for me. See you guys later on this week as I talk about the UFC card that awaits us and the Selección Mexicana's roster and games. See you then.